Before you make your next purchase, before you renew your next subscription, before you click on another limited time offer, consider this possibility. There is a strong chance that the decision you believe is entirely yours has already been shaped long before you felt certain about it. Most people believe they control their spending habits because they compare prices, weigh options, and convince themselves they are being rational. Yet, decades of research in behavioral economics reveal something different. Human beings are not purely logical decision makers. We are influenced by perception, context, emotion, and subtle environmental cues that operate beneath conscious awareness. The modern economy does not simply respond to what people want. It studies how people think, predicts how they react, and designs systems that align with those reactions. When you walk into a store or browse online, you are not just encountering products. You are encountering carefully structured environments built to guide your attention and accelerate your decisions. These systems are not necessarily malicious. They are efficient. They are optimized, and they work. Understanding how they work does not require paranoia. It requires awareness. Once you recognize the psychological forces shaping your spending, you begin to see money not just as currency, but as behavior. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Cheap Consider. The number $19.99. Logically, it differs from $20 by 1 cent. Emotionally, however, it feels meaningfully cheaper. That emotional difference is not accidental. It is rooted in how the human brain processes numerical information. When you read a price, your brain processes it from left to right and gives disproportionate weight to the first digit. The first number becomes the anchor of perception. So, $19.99 is categorized as 19 rather than almost 20. This phenomenon is known as left-digit bias. It happens automatically before conscious evaluation. Researchers have consistently shown that prices ending in 99 increase purchasing behavior compared to rounded prices even when the monetary difference is insignificant. The change is not in value. The change is in perception. And perception shapes action. Anchoring strengthens this effect. When you see a product labeled as previously priced at $299 and now offered at $199, your brain does not evaluate $199 in isolation. It evaluates it relative to $299. The higher number becomes a psychological reference point. That reference point alters how the lower number feels. Behavioral experiments demonstrate that once a number is introduced, even if it is arbitrary, it influences subsequent willingness to pay. This means pricing strategies are not simply about setting numbers. They are about shaping context. You rarely ask whether something is objectively worth its price. Instead, you ask whether it feels like a good deal compared to what you just saw. That emotional comparison often outweighs calculation. Chapter 2. The Pain of Paying No. Think about how you pay when you hand over physical cash. You see it leave your possession. You experience a moment of tangible separation. That moment activates what researchers describe as the pain of paying. Cash is concrete and visible, which makes the loss feel immediate. Studies consistently show that consumers spend less when paying with cash compared to cards. The physical act of parting with money creates friction. Friction encourages reflection. When you replace cash with a credit card, the transaction becomes less visible. You swipe and the money does not physically disappear from your hand. The emotional signal of loss weakens. Now replace the card with digital payment. A tap of a phone. A saved payment method. A single click. Each layer of abstraction reduces the psychological intensity of spending. The more distant you feel from your money, the easier it becomes to spend it. Buy now, pay later. Systems extend this principle further by separating consumption from payment. Receive the product immediately, while the financial consequence is postponed. Delaying the cost reduces resistance in the present moment, even though the total amount remains unchanged. The emotional experience shifts dramatically. Convenience feels neutral, but convenience quietly alters Behavior. Chapter 3. The subscription economy. Consider the subscription model. Instead of charging a large amount once, companies charge a small recurring amount. $9.99 per month feels manageable, almost insignificant. Streaming services, music platforms, productivity tools, storage plans, and wellness apps all use this structure. Individually, each subscription appears affordable, collectively, they accumulate into significant monthly expenses. This accumulation often happens unnoticed because recurring payments blend into the background. The phenomenon is sometimes referred to as subscription blindness. The problem is not the individual charge. It is the absence of visibility over the total. There is another psychological force at work called inertia bias. Humans naturally stick with default settings. Canceling requires action. Logging in. Finding the cancellation page. Confirming the decision. That small amount of effort is often enough to delay cancellation. Delay becomes revenue. Small recurring payments feel less threatening than large one-time expenses because they feel small. They rarely demand immediate evaluation. Quiet money flows smoothly, and what flows smoothly often goes unquestioned. Chapter 4. Luxury and status. Luxury markets operate under different psychological principles. In most markets, lowering price increases demand. In luxury categories, raising the price can increase desirability. This phenomenon is known as the Veblen effect. In these markets, price is not just a cost, it is a signal. Higher prices communicate exclusivity. Exclusivity communicates status. Status reinforces identity. Research shows that consumers often associate higher price with higher quality, even when objective differences are minimal. Luxury brands are not primarily selling function, they are selling meaning. Scarcity intensifies this effect. Limited releases increase perceived value. Waiting lists create anticipation. Exclusive drops generate urgency. The fewer people who can obtain something, the more desirable it becomes. Desire in this context is rooted in identity rather than utility. Luxury purchases are expressions of belonging and distinction. Chapter 5. The engineered storytell environments are carefully designed to guide behavior. Milk is commonly placed at the back of grocery stores, so customers must walk past multiple aisles before reaching it. Exposure increases the probability of impulse purchases. Products placed at eye level receive more attention and therefore generate higher sales. Brands pay premiums for those positions. Background music influences walking speed. Slower music encourages longer browsing. Longer browsing increases spending. Lighting affects how fresh produce appears. Even aisle width influences how comfortable shoppers feel while moving through space. Retail design subtly shapes movement, attention, and purchasing patterns. While it feels like you are navigating freely, your environment is influencing your path. Chapter 6. The algorithmic era. Digital environments amplify these psychological principles dramatically. Online platforms collect behavioral data continuously. Search history, click patterns, viewing time, and purchase behavior are analyzed in real time. These data points are used to predict future decisions. Personalized recommendations increase engagement. Targeted advertisements increase conversion rates. Dynamic pricing models adjust offers based on timing, demand, and user behavior. The digital marketplace adapts to individual users moment by moment. Modern systems do not simply react to what you have done, anticipate what you are likely to do next. Behavior generates data. Data refines. Targeting. Targeting influences behavior again. This feedback loop operates continuously and often invisibly. Money becomes embedded within predictive systems that evolve over time. Conclusion. Learning these mechanisms does not require withdrawing from modern life. It requires awareness. Pricing psychology, payment abstraction, subscription models, scarcity signaling, and algorithmic targeting all influence behavior. Recognizing these influences restores perspective. Money is not only currency, it is intertwined with perception, emotion, identity. And habit. Influence works most effectively when it remains invisible. Awareness makes it visible. When you pause and question how something makes you feel rather than simply reacting to it, you introduce space into the decision. That space creates intention, and intention creates control. True financial awareness is not about eliminating spending. It is about understanding the systems shaping it, because lasting power does not come from spending less, it comes from understanding more.